Good afternoon. I'm back at Jerrabomber Creek, creek that flows from Jerrabomber in New South Wales through to Lake Burley Griffin in the ACT, and it's good carp fishing. It used to be reasonable sort of trout fishing as well, but unfortunately the trout are now a thing of the past pretty much. It's been many years since I saw one up here. Part of the reason for that is the population of carp that's up here now, but the main reason for that is the removal of the willow trees. As you can see, there's a lot of saplings coming up on the riverbank here. They're everywhere. They're poplar saplings from the poplars that surround the place, and the reason that they've been allowed to get up to the point they're at is because the willows have been removed. Now, they were removed over the last, say, 10-15 years as part of a knee-jerk reaction by the New South Wales and ACT governments to the drought. Apparently, the 10-year drought that we were in, during that period, the water reservoirs started to get very low, and the reason wasn't people having half-hour showers or running the hose to wash down their driveways, it was the willow trees. Apparently they sucked up too much water and stopped the water from flowing into the dams. So the New South Wales government declared them noxious weed and started cutting them out. And the ACT, located in the middle of New South Wales, got a bounty on the willows to cut them out. Now, this was done with no real plan. They just clear-felled all the willows and didn't consider the ecological role the willows had come to play. When we first came, there was lots of forest and lots of tea tree scrub right up to the riverbanks. We cut that all out. In place, we put willows and other introduced species. Then we've come along and we've cut all them out. So there is now very few trees remaining on the riverbanks, which leads to all sorts of issues. Now, you can see the water's pretty murky here at the moment. There's two reasons for that. One is that it's rained recently, and so the water is a bit stirred up, but the secondary one, and the main reason, is because there is no buffer to the silt and the other muck in the water, and there's no overhanging shade to speak of, so algal blooms are able to occur. Now, the willows played the role of taking up nitrates and phosphates from the water column and utilising those in their growth. Those fertilisers are now also just flowing straight on down and are available for the algae blooms. With no buffering of the willow roots, the water flows through in a fully lineal manner. It's not held back, it's not buffered, and so it just scours the creek bed of all the phosphates and the ferric fertilisers that are locked up in the silt as well. Now, this in and of itself may not lead to too many problems, but human activity up the river also adds to the amount of okay, we got a bit of a lookout there. The line's beginning to tighten. Anyway, human activity up the river also adds to the load, bioload, and yet there's nothing here to remove it. In addition to that, the lack of habitat for fish other than carp and for the insects and micro and macro-organisms that they live on, shrimp and fingerlings and so on, minnows, it's gone. There is no habitat left because the willows, the roots used to provide that habitat, hanging out into the water, and now it's just clear open streams. So adding those factors together, we have a real problem with the removal of the willows. Sure, they were invasive species, and sure they were introduced, but let's face it, Lake Burley Griffin's a man-made lake, so to try and mitigate the results of introduced species on a man-made environment is kind of self-defeating in my opinion. Anyway, I'm going to get back to fishing, and enough said about the willow removal. If you've got any questions, let me know and I'll try and get back to you on them. Oh, are you kidding?